I rise again to address this legislation, to ask my colleagues to reject this legislation. We've already heard from our other colleagues, from the sensible to the sublime, to the very passionate, to the scientific, the various reasons why we must reject this legislation. And in listening to our colleagues, I'm saddened. I'm really saddened by the disinterest in this room about this very important issue that affects our communities today, affects our communities tomorrow, and at a time when we are dealing with these very issues that occurred many yesterdays ago because of our failure to listen and our failure to show that we are good stewards of our environment. You know, we were elected by the people of this state to listen to and work for them, not cater to the wishes and the desires of corporations. And when the people of Michigan speak, we should listen to them. And right now, what they've seen from their government is that they don't matter. We all know the history of what's happened with the permitting process, the various permitting processes. So I won't rehash them, because you would literally have to have been on another planet to not know. And right now before us is legislation that further erodes, has the potential to further erode their trust, not to mention our state's precious natural resources. Far too much of our environment is already at the mercy of corporations whose first priority is profit, the bottom line, the bottom dollar. And when you take each of these things as singular cases, it might not seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal when they are hurting the very communities that people live in, send their children to school in, work in, hope to allow their kids to go out in the yard and play in. Our first priority is and should be the people who elected its members serving. And if we pass this legislation, we'll be saying to Michiganders across the state, community to community, urban, suburban, rural, southern, northern, east to west, that their health, their well-being, and the interests come after those of an unelected body, half of which represents corporate interests, the very interests that can at times be at perilous odds with the best interests of our environment, our communities, and our people. I think we can all agree, to one degree or another, that reform is needed at the MDEQ. But this legislation is not the answer. We need stronger, more comprehensive regulations, not watered down provisions. We need to be sure that when citizens are speaking out on an issue, we are listening to them. And if we statutorily create an advisory panel to do the job of an already existing legislative committee, when it comes to the rulemaking process, we are abdicating our responsibility. If we allow employees of corporations with regulatory violations to serve on these oversight and appeals boards, then we will be allowing the fox to guard the henhouse. The potential for harm is too great. The potential for unintended consequences is too great. The types of unintended consequences and corporate malfeasances that we have seen, ones that will make us more like unpure Michigan and thus less competitive. We have a chance right now to prove that our talk of being good stewards of Michigan's resources is more than just air. Let us pause, reject this legislation, so that we can go through the existing process for rulemaking to address the DEQ's process. Please join me in voting no on this legislation.